Hey guys, it's Karina with Karina Loves to Plan. Welcome back to my channel. I'm here with Lucy, and I'm here to actually answer the questions that Simona and Leanne of Leanne Likes put on their channel just a couple of weeks ago, the 8 pen questions. And there's actually so many people in the fountain pen community who are taking part in this, and I love seeing that. I love seeing people from all over the fountain pen community. And what I love about YouTube and social media is that you can connect with anybody all over the world. It doesn't have to be just somebody in your city who likes fountain pens. It can be anybody, anywhere, all over the world. And I love finding out more about what people like in this hobby, why they're in this hobby, and then just, you know, even like the juicy questions of how many pens do you really own, really? So let's get right to it. I've got Lucy who's cuddled up here with me. I have a massive cup of coffee, which, you know what, it's actually 1 o'clock in the afternoon that I'm filming this on a Sunday, and I'm just having my coffee, decaf, but okay. So first question is, when and how did your fountain pen journey begin? My fountain pen journey didn't actually start with my first ever fountain pen. My first fountain pen was given to me by my dad back in, I think, 2015, something like that. And it was a Cross Botanica green daylily. And it was a beautiful pen. I didn't know anything about fountain pens at that point. I just knew that it had a different looking nib, it had cartridges, and it was a smooth writer. But even the planner back then, I was using a Kate Spade planner back then, and it bled through the paper. It just wasn't the greatest experience for me. And when I finished using up the cartridges that I had been given, I didn't buy any more cartridges. I just kind of left the pen to the side. My official beginning of my fountain pen journey happened around September of, I believe, 2021. And that was partly due to Helen of the Coffee Monsters Co., but also partly due to the fact that I was going to be purchasing a Hobonichi Cousin for the 2022 planner year. And I knew that the Hobonichi Cousin had Tomoe River paper, so I wanted to find a pen that would work really well with that, and fountain pens were the ones that were highly, highly recommended. So I started in September of 2021, and my first purchase was a mix of things that I bought from Wonder Pens, I believe it was, and Amazon. Do I own any of those pens still? I think I own one of them. Anyway, but I bought 4 pens. It was a Pilot Metropolitan, a TWSBI Go, a TWSBI Eco, and a Pilot Kakuno. Out of those 4 pens, I only own one of them still to this day. And then I discovered inks, and then just a straight rabbit hole from there. So the next question, what were my favorite inks in the beginning, and what are my go-to inks now? I made the mistake in the beginning of my fountain pen journey to buy all the bottles. I actually want to look. I bought all the bottles thinking that I need all of the bottles because why not? I'm going to use them so quickly. Oh, poor Karina back then in September. But I currently have, I'm looking at my list here, I think I have 40 bottles with one on the way. And that is a lot. I've gotten rid of some have been given to me, but at the very beginning, I just bought way too many bottles. And the ones that I was going for in the beginning were things like Diamine Shimmer-tastic Caramel Sparkle, which I actually still love to this day. I really loved the shimmer inks back then, not knowing very much what they would do to my pens or how they wouldn't really work in some of my pens. But also at the very beginning, I loved Pilot Iroshizuku. I wanted to at least sample every single color that they had, and I was pretty close to doing that. So those are really the 2 that I was going for in the beginning, the Diamine, the Shimmer-tastic, and Pilot Iroshizuku. But what are my go-to inks now? When I think about go-to inks, I think more in terms of color rather than a specific brand. And the color that I am really reaching for at the moment is a dusty pink. Dusty pink is my, and purple. Dusty pink and purple. I love those two colors, and I'm looking through my ink samples at the moment. Like, which one am I really, really drawn to? Right now, I mean, I love Taranishi Opera Rose, which I am waiting for a bottle of that to come in stock at Paper Plus Cloth. That one I have to have a bottle of, or I will just sample all of the inks in that same colorway and try and find something. What other inks do I normally reach for? I still reach for Pilot Iroshizuku. Even the samples that I have, I still reach for them. But I can't name any specific brand that I would choose one over the other, because I think I have so many samples and so many bottles. I want to give everything an equal chance in my pens so that I have the ability to really test them out and discover them and make use of what I'm actually purchasing. So I have my iPad in front of me, which is why I keep reaching. So I don't think I really answered the question of what my go-to inks are now. I told you my favorite color, but I think when it comes to an ink, I'm all about purchasing samples. I'm all about trying different kinds, but I'm also working on not purchasing every colorway in a specific new release of samples. Specifically speaking, I bought every single sample of ink of the Sailor Urameko line that came out last year. I did not need to do that, but I did, and I won't be doing that again. I will just really pick and choose what I want in terms of any new releases that come out. And even then, I'm very, very particular about what inks I'm going to be purchasing from now on. Number 3, how have your ink and pen taste changed over time? And my goodness, have they? Definitely changed over time. And you could really tell that with the fountain pen collection that I currently have. My collection, I have to say, is very fluid. And when I say fluid, it means that at any one time, a pen can be sold just like that. And I mean, I don't mean just like that, but I mean, I do take time to think about how badly I want to sell this pen. Will I be really disappointed if I lose it? And that also speaks to how my pens have changed over time. At the beginning, I was very much into, I have to get into gold nibs right away. And I did. I ended up buying a Pilot Decimo in the champagne, and then I bought a Sailor Pro Gear Slim, both of which are no longer with me. I sold the Pilot Decimo, the Pilot Vanishing Point Decimo, quite a few months ago, and I just sold that Sailor Pro Gear Slim in the Dragon Palace. And that speaks to how my tastes do change over time, but also how my collection for me isn't more about hanging on to everything. For me, every pen that I have in my collection is there for a purpose and there for a specific time, whether it's a long time or a short time. Every pen serves a purpose, whether I learn about what I like, what I don't like, whether it's, you know, something that I just like to go back to. Every pen has a different purpose. But then again, every pen will have a specific time or a different time that they're going to be in my collection for. And I'm completely okay with that. I'm completely okay with that. And then in terms of my ink, like I said, I went for all the bottles at the beginning, and now it's just samples. And I think long and hard about what I'm going to purchase. I have to keep something in my cart for at least a week before I make the full decision to purchase it. And even saying that, my Van Ness cart has been filled for a good couple of months. I haven't pulled the trigger yet on purchasing those 8 samples, but I really think about it because I don't want to add to what I currently have without knowing that others are being used up as well. I don't want to keep adding to my ink sample collection or my ink bottle collection or even my pen collection without knowing that every one of them is going to be used. So that is going into a different answer later. Are there inks and pens that you have yet to try but would like to? Yes. I have a list in my spreadsheet. I do have a Google spreadsheet that I keep all of this in. And the inks that I do want to try are currently what are in my Van Ness cart, and I keep it to that. I know that I could try so many different inks, and with the availability of samples, you certainly could at a relatively good price, but also you're not gonna take up a lot of storage space by purchasing samples. At the same time, I am the type of person where I need to finish that sample vial to feel like I've made full use of that purchase. But I know Simona had said that for her, a sample is if she swatched it and has done a writing sample and has logged it, that ink has served its purpose. Whether or not it actually went into a pen, whether it was fully used, that ink has served its purpose. And I really like that because it allows me to not feel so guilty about different ink purchases. I'm still getting there to where I feel like I don't have to finish ink samples, but I'm also very willing to give them to friends or send them off to people, even if they're, if they've got 2 mils left of a 4 mil sample, I'm happy to send them off. That was so not the question. What are the inks that I want to try? I want to try Wearingeul White Rabbit, which is currently out of stock at Van Ness. There's I feel like I need to pull up my Van Ness card, but there are a few that I do want to try from Van Ness. There's Wearingeul Stonecutter's Song, Colorverse, USA Kingdom, it's the Kujangak. Then the Wearingeul Don Quixote, Wearingeul Charlotte Bronte Jane Eyre. I do want to try the KWZ Standard Brown ink. And what two did I just put into my cart this morning? There was a Tatcha ink, and I think it was Ume Murasaki, and it was Tatcha Ugu Isu, I think was the name of it. So it was a really, really nice green. And if you actually look at the cart, all of the ink samples are pretty much the same shade. There's like the 2 greens that are the same shade, and then the rest of them are kind of in that dusty pink. And then there's one light purple. Yeah, so those are the ones that I want to try at the moment. I have I would love to try a few more dominant industry and things, but it's not to the point where I feel like I have to try them right now. I know that I will eventually try a few inks down the line, but there's no sense of urgency with those ones. So then what pens do I want to try? Oh, I want to try all of the different Pilot nibs that are available on the Pilot Custom 742. So that is the soft fine, the fine medium, the soft fine medium, the posting, the signature, all of them. I want to try them. The Pilot Custom 743 is a pen that I want to try, but is also actually on my wish list. And the reason that I want to try that specific one is because it has the Pilot number 15 nib, which is equivalent to the size of a Yovo number 6 nib. And I like the 743 because it's similar in size to the custom 823, but doesn't have the vac filling system. It fills with the Pilot Con 70 converter. I don't have any yearning to try the custom 823 because vac filling just isn't for me, and that's me specifically. So the Pilot Custom 743 I want to try. I want to hold a Pelican M800 in my hand to see if I will like the weight and the width of the pen, because that actually leads into what is my Holy Grail pen. And I was just discussing this with Katie. She and I have daily discussions about this. So the 5th question is, what is your Holy Grail pen? And the first thing that we said was, well, what does the definition of Grail mean? And for me, the definition of Grail is that it's something that I'm yearning for, and it's something that's off in the distance. It's not something that I'm actively wanting right now. And that is different to the definition that I had this time last year. This time last year, my Grail pen was the Pelican M400 and the White Tortoise, and I was able to purchase it at a great price. But would that be my Grail pen now? Probably not. For me, the Grail pen is something that is so far out of what I would normally buy that the circumstances have to be just right. The finances have to be there. The price has to be there. Just all of the stars have to align in order to be able to purchase it. And it's not something that, like I said, I'm not actively researching it right now. I'm not actively having it in a cart right now. It's one of those that's kind of hopefully someday. And that's exactly what Katie said. So my Holy Grail pen, after all of that preamble, is a Pelicon M800 in the brown, or the brown black, I think. And I first saw this pen on, I believe her channel is This Is Mrs. Mom, but I also know that Michael Topscura has this on his channel, and he has it, and it's such a beautiful, beautiful pen. And this one for me is, I need to hold a Pelicon M800 in my hand first before I even consider even purchasing that. But out of all of the pens that are currently on my wish list, that one is I'm happy to look at it from afar, but not actively pursue it. That's what I feel that a Grail pen is. So what is your definition of a Grail pen? Let me know. And actually you can answer all these questions down below as well. So the sixth question, how many pens do I currently own? And I had to organize my spreadsheet for this. I have spreadsheets for this. Of course I do. So how many pens do I currently own? Hold on, I'm looking. Oh, I had organized this by brand. So I currently own 26 pens, and 1, 2, 3 are on the way to me. So 26 pens, and in total I have owned 43. In my whole fountain pen life, I have owned 43 pens, which means I have sold quite a few pens or have given them away. So you can, if I had kept every single pen, I'd have 43, but because I feel at ease with selling certain pens in order to either fund other pens or make room for other pens, then my collection is currently at 26. So I'm looking through my collection here. I have one Cross, one Esterbrook Estie that's on the way, which I can't believe I won that giveaway on Instagram. That was just the news that I needed. And then in terms of hand turn pens, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 hand turned pens with one on the way. I have 3 Le Bon pens, which I'm actually very happy with. I think that's it for my Le Bon collection. I have 1 Leonardo, 2 Narwhal, both Nautiluses. I have 4 Pelicans. I have 3 Pilots, 1 Platinum, 3 Sailors, 1 Twisby. So I think in terms of my collection, I feel like I have a good mix of things, but I'm also, when it comes to purchasing pens, I do a lot of research, I do a lot of thinking and introspection before I really make a purchase. The most recent purchase that I made was one that I had to sleep on because I didn't think I would get it. It was out of stock and I didn't think it would ever come back. So I had to talk myself out of this pen to the point where I'm like, no, I don't actually like it. I don't actually like it. But then I kept seeing it in so many people's feeds, and every time I saw it, there was just a little spark of disappointment that I didn't have it. So when Goulet Pens restocked it, I had to get it. That will be probably a video in a few weeks' time, if all goes well. But yeah, that is my fountain pen collection, 26. So out of those 26, there's 3 on the way. So in hand, I have 23 with 3 more on the way. So do I have a limit on pens or inks in your collection? Is it a number? Is it a feeling? What do you know when you've reached that maximum? I made a goal at the beginning of 2023 that I only wanted to purchase 1 pen a month, and that I wanted to stick to a maximum of 30 pens. And I was having a chat with Katie yesterday, or the other day when I was talking about the pen that got restocked at Goulet. And she asked me, what is the spirit of those rules? Why do you have those rules for yourself? And the reason is I'm the type of person where if I have too much stuff, I get overwhelmed and the clutter just becomes full of anxiety for me. I become full of anxiety with having too many things. And that's partly the reason why I set the limit on pens. However, what I've also been talking to her about is the principle of being intuitive about my purchases, kind of relating it to intuitive eating, is that am I restricting myself so much that I'm missing out on the joy of things? So when it comes to that rule of 1 pen a month, I've broken that. But the pens that I have purchased in, gosh, is it what, like 9 weeks since the start of the year? The pens that I've purchased in this time have all been ones that have brought me joy. And I think it's important to think about that when we're also setting these rules for ourselves, that we're purchasing these pens very intentionally, very thoughtfully. And for me, yes, I do want to have a limit on my pens because, like Simona, I don't want to get to the point where I haven't used a pen in like 6 months because I have so many pens to go through. And I was listening to Sarah of Ginger Peachy Stationery. Yes. And she said that the way that she gets through so many pens is that she fills them very little with ink, like with very little ink, so that when they do run out, she can just immediately rotate them. And I like that principle, but I'm also of the principle that I like my pens for the month. And this is me, it doesn't work that way for everybody, but I like my March currently inked, and I like having a report, and that's just the type of person that I am. I like keeping track of all the different pens and all the different inks that I've used, because then it allows me to go back and see, was that a great pen pairing? Did I really enjoy using that pen? Did I really enjoy using that ink? If I didn't enjoy it, what is it doing in my collection? So I ask myself those questions all the time, because then it allows me to really take stock of what I have. So when it comes to the limit, the 30 pens is, I feel like, an arbitrary number. It's a number that I don't want to get to necessarily, but if I get to it, that's not going to be the be all and end all of my fountain pens. As for inks, I don't want to fill that drawer up anymore. That drawer is full. No more bottles. I'm happy to try ink samples as long as I'm using them. So it's not necessarily a number, although I do have the pen sample vial holder from PenChalet and it holds 50. I don't want to get to way more than that. I want to be able to just keep it in there, because again, it's like fountain pens. If I have so many ink samples, when am I actually using them? How much of them am I actually using? Am I making use of what I'm buying? So when do I know that I've reached the maximum? When my anxiety hits the roof is basically it. So it really is a feeling. It's not a number per se. It's when I get to the point where I'm looking at how much I have and it's causing anxiety. That's the maximum, I think. And that's different for everybody. For me, it's a fewer number of pens, because that way I can actually use them. And I do have my pens in a rotation where, on my spreadsheet again, I have it written so that they're in a specific order that I use them, so that they all get evenly used. So yeah, when do I know I've reached my maximum? Yeah, anxiety. So the last question is, consequently, what would you do if another pen or ink came along? This process is the same when it comes to pen or ink purchases. I have to have it in my cart for at least a week to really take the time to consider, to really do the research, to think about what place it's going to have in my collection, whether or not it's something that, I've spoken about this before, does it have the BAM factor? Does it look amazing? Is the price right? And is this one that I don't have? What is the attraction to this? So there's a lot that goes into the thought of purchasing a pen, because of the higher price point, but because, again, if I get to that number where I have so many pens that I don't use all of them enough, that's going to cause me anxiety. In terms of ink, I am happy to try ink samples, but again, I have to make sure that I'm actually actively using them. So I don't want to limit myself if another pen or ink came along, because if I just said no more spending, no more pens, no more inks, how quickly is that resolution going to come undone? When we say, it's like when we say, I'm not going to eat any more baked goods, I'm not going to eat any more chips. That's the first thing you want to do, is eat that. So instead of limiting and saying no, I become very thoughtful about what this pen or ink is going to bring to my collection, how I'm going to use it, whether I'm going to use it, and whether it's something I really, really love. So no limits, just a very thoughtful process. All right, but that is it for me. I love these questions. These were so great because they really made me think about what I have, why I have it, and it's so interesting to see everybody else's perspective on these things. So do check out the other videos with the hashtag 8pen questions. I think this whole series is great and I love listening to everybody. So once again, thank you guys so much for watching. This fountain pen hobby has brought me so much, and I'm so grateful. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching and have yourselves a great day.